Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to be exploring pure love as the true sign of a disciple of Jesus Christ.
Interesting topic.
It is, and we're diving deep, as always, into a talk
Of course.
by Elder Massimo de Feo.
Okay.
He's a leader in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and this talk, Pure Love, the true sign of every true disciple of Jesus Christ, was given back in April 2018.
Gotcha.
So it's been a while, but I think the principles are really timeless.
I think so too.
We all talk about love, but what does pure love, really look like in action?
Right.
And how does that connect to being a true disciple?
Yeah, that's a good question.
So that's what we'll be unpacking today. And I think one of the things that struck me right off the bat was how Elder DeFeo starts his talk.
Okay.
He doesn't jump into a list of rules or commandments.
Interesting.
He kind of lays this beautiful foundation, right?
Yeah.
He says the entire gospel of Jesus Christ is centered around love. God's love for us and the love we then have for him and for each other.
It's true.
And he even quotes Elder Jeffrey R. Holland, who calls God's love for us the foundation stone of eternity.
Okay.
It's not just some abstract idea, right? It's
Yeah.
supposed to be how we live our life, like the bedrock of our lives every single day.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that?
I think it's a powerful concept.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, if we truly grasp the depth of God's love for us, it would really change how we see things. Like every choice, every interaction would come from that understanding.
Right.
It's like when you build a house,
Yeah.
if you have a strong foundation, everything is more likely to stay strong.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of that story that Elder DeFeo shares about his son.
Okay.
You remember where his son tells his classmates that his dad is the chief of the universe?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a good one.
It's funny, and it makes you think about how children see things, how they see their parents, right?
It doesn't.
And it makes me wonder if maybe Elder DeFeo is using that story, not just because it's charming, but because it connects to the idea that pure love is like that foundational principle, that we need to understand even early in life.
That's a great point. Yeah.
And then, Elder DeFeo gets into some really specific characteristics of a true disciple.
Okay.
And I noticed that every one of these qualities is rooted in pure love.
Like what, for example?
Well, he talks about the love to serve others, but not because we have to, but as a way to show love.
Okay.
Not for recognition or reward, but because we want to help other people.
Right.
The kind of service that goes above and beyond.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
And that reminds me of another characteristic he highlights, the love to forgive, which can be really tough.
Oh, it can be very difficult.
To let go of anger and resentment, especially when you feel justified.
Yeah, forgiveness is complex.
It is.
And it's easy to misunderstand.
Right.
It doesn't mean we're saying the wrong actions were okay.
Yeah.
Or minimizing someone's pain.
Right.
But it does mean we're choosing to let go of anger.
That's a good point.
Elder DeFeo has a really good suggestion when we're having a hard time forgiving.
Okay, what's that?
He says to try focusing on what Christ has done for us instead of what others have done to us.
That's a big perspective shift.
It is, and it's powerful.
So how do you think that helps?
Well, you think about how much Christ sacrificed.
Yeah,
He suffered so we could have a chance to return to God.
that's right.
When you really think about that love, other people's actions can seem a lot smaller.
So it's not minimizing the hurt, but seeing things in a different light.
Exactly.
So the more we understand his love for us, the easier it is to forgive others.
It's a process. But yes, having that foundation can make a big difference.
Now, Elder DeFeo also talks about the love to submit to the Lord,
Okay.
which I think can be a tricky concept, especially today.
Yes, submission can have some negative connotations.
Right.
But he's not talking about blind obedience, is he?
No, I don't think so.
Giving up our agency.
Exactly.
It's more about trusting God so much
Yeah.
that we're willing to follow his will.
Even when it doesn't make sense to us.
Right.
And he doesn't stop there.
He doesn't.
He goes on to talk about loving the Lord more than the world.
Wow.
Which feels very relevant today with all the distractions we have.
It's a good reminder that God should be our top priority.
Yeah.
Like an anchor,
Yeah.
keeping us steady.
I like that.
Yeah, amidst everything else going on.
So it's recognizing that his love is constant,
Yes.
even when things around us change.
Right.
And then there's the love to listen,
Interesting.
which Elder DeFeo connects to hearing the Spirit and the prophets over the noise of the world.
That's crucial.
It is, especially today.
With so much information coming at us from all directions,
Much, yeah.
we have to be careful
Yeah.
about what voices we listen to.
So this principle is about seeking truth.
Yes. From the right sources.
And recognizing that God speaks to us in different ways.
It's not always a big, loud message.
Right, sometimes that's a quiet whisper.
Exactly. Or maybe the words of someone we trust.
And then Elder DeFeo talks about this beautiful concept of loving to stand in holy places.
Okay.
And even making holy the places where we stand.
What do you think he means by that?
I think it's more than just physical places, right?
Yeah, I think so too.
It's about creating an atmosphere of peace and love.
In our homes?
In our workplaces, everywhere we go.
It's like radiating that light outward.
Yeah.
And transforming our surroundings.
And it reminds us that we're not just receiving God's love passively.
We're supposed to share it.
Actively share it.
It's like we have a responsibility.
Yeah.
To make the world a more holy place.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, one act of love at a time.
And then finally, Elder DeFeo talks about the love to obey God's commandments.
Okay.
And he makes it clear that this isn't about blindly following rules.
It's about something deeper.
Right. Yes, it's a natural response to our love for God.
Like when you love someone,
Yeah.
you naturally want to please them.
Right. And when we love God, we want to follow his guidance.
And it becomes a joy, not a burden.
I like that. A joy, not a burden.
It really is.
And, one thing that really stood out to me was when Elder DeFeo quotes President Thomas S. Monson,
Okay.
who told us to love all of God's children, starting now, today.
Not just the people who are easy to love.
Right. That's
Family,
good.
friends, strangers.
Everyone.
It's a powerful challenge.
It is. And I think it's about seeing everyone the way Christ sees us.
Recognizing that we're all connected.
And extending compassion and kindness to everyone, even those who are different from us.
It's about breaking down those barriers.
And building bridges.
Exactly.
And to really illustrate this idea of pure love, Elder DeFeo shares a very personal story
Okay.
about his mother.
What happened?
Well, he was visiting her in her final days as she was battling cancer.
Oh, wow.
He tried to hide his worry, but she sensed it.
She did.
Yeah, and she asked him to teach her how to pray because she wanted to pray for him.
Wow, that's incredible.
It is, imagine that.
She's in pain, struggling to speak.
Yeah.
And she's thinking about her son.
That's pure love, right.
Putting others first, even when you're suffering.
And he describes kneeling by her bedside as she prays for him.
What was it like?
He said her voice was barely a whisper, but you could feel her love. And it made him wonder, how can someone in that much pain even think about praying for someone else?
That's a good question.
And I think the answer is pure love.
Her love for him was that strong.
It was. And it allowed her to comfort him even in her weakest moment.
That's a beautiful testament to a mother's love.
It is. And it made me think about Christ's sacrifice in Gethsemane.
Wow, that's a powerful connection.
Because Christ, facing unimaginable suffering, was praying for us.
He was.
He was pleading for our forgiveness.
Even though he was the one who was going to suffer.
And Elder DeFeo points out that this was only possible through pure love.
Love for the Father.
Yeah.
And love for us.
He suffered for sins he didn't commit.
Because of his infinite love.
Exactly.
It's hard to comprehend.
That kind of love. And before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to share a question that Elder DeFeo asks us.
What's that?
How can we make pure love the foundation stone of our lives?
That's a good question to consider.
It is. It's one thing to admire pure love in others.
Right.
But how do we make it real in our own lives?
How do we put it into practice?
Exactly. And we'll continue to explore that when we come back for part 2.
As we kind of dig deeper into Elder DeFeo's message, I'm noticing how practical his words are.
Totally. It's not just like a sermon about love,
Yeah.
It's more like a guide to live a more Christ-like life.
And he makes this really interesting connection between love and change.
Okay.
He talks about how keeping covenants and really loving God actually changes us from the inside.
He does say that. Yeah. He says our hearts are renewed.
Yeah.
Our nature changes. Like, pure love isn't just an action, it's part of who we become.
I love that. It's like God's love changes us from the inside out.
It's almost like,
Yeah.
like we're surrendering to a sculptor, letting God kind of chip away at all our rough edges until we become like a masterpiece.
But it's not about being perfect right away.
No, it's a process.
Yeah.
It's about those small steps.
Right. Getting closer to God each day.
And becoming more like him.
And as we become more Christ-like, we naturally become more loving too.
Yeah.
It's like a ripple effect. Our transformation can touch the lives of people around us.
So beautiful.
It is.
It's like the closer we are to God, the source of all love, the more we can share that love with everyone.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important
Yeah.
to love all of God's children.
Like President Monson said,
Yes, starting today.
it's about seeing everyone through Christ's eyes.
Yeah, recognizing their worth.
Remembering that we're all connected.
We're all part of the same family.
And looking beyond differences.
To see the good in everyone.
Yeah, and acting on it.
Right, showing compassion, even to those who are different from us.
Or who may have hurt us.
Because we all have struggles.
Everyone is going through something.
And sometimes, just listening.
Yeah.
Or offering a kind word.
We're helping in a practical way.
Those could be the most powerful acts of love.
I agree, and those are often the things that go unnoticed.
Yeah, but they make such a difference.
And I think that's what Elder DeFeo is saying.
What's that?
That pure love is about action.
It's about being a light.
Yes, in a world that's often dark.
And he talks about how love can transform us.
Oh, right. He uses the word renewed.
It's like a fresh start.
Yeah, like a constant springtime.
I love that image.
Me too. It's like no matter how many times we make mistakes,
God's love is always there
to help us start again.
and become more like him.
And I think that's a perfect segue. Back to the story of Elder DeFeo's mother.
Oh, yeah, what a powerful example of love.
It was, and it reminds me of how God loves us.
Unconditionally.
Yes, just like a parent loves their child.
And he's always there for us.
Always. No matter what. I think it's inspiring to realize
What's that?
that we're capable of that same love.
We can love like that too.
Yeah, we can be God's hands in the world.
Offering compassion and support.
Sharing his light.
And Elder DeFeo reminds us
What's that?
that pure love is a choice,
That's a commitment.
a way of life,
It's a journey.
of becoming more like Christ.
And in the next part of our deep dive,
Okay.
we'll talk about more ways we can actually cultivate this love in our daily lives. As we wrap up our deep dive, I keep thinking about how Elder DeFeo doesn't just talk about love.
He shows us.
He does, with those real-life stories.
Yeah, like his mother
Praying for him,
while she was dying.
and Christ in the Garden of Gethsemane.
Powerful examples.
And remember how he mentioned those who serve quietly?
The ones only God sees.
It reminds us that pure love isn't about recognition,
It's about those small acts of kindness,
that often go unnoticed,
like volunteers at a homeless shelter,
or visiting the elderly.
or even just being there for a friend.
Those little things can mean so much.
They really do.
And it's amazing how pure love changes us.
From the inside out.
Elder DeFeo talks about becoming more patient, forgiving, compassionate,
Like we're being refined
our rough edges smoothed away.
until we're more like Christ.
And then we can share that love with others.
It becomes part of who we are.
Not just something we do.
It's beautiful how it all works together.
It is like we're becoming the best versions of ourselves.
The people God created us to be.
And that lets us make a difference in the world.
Bring light to the darkness.
So as we finish up,
Okay,
I want to challenge us all.
to put this into practice.
What can we do today to show pure love?
Maybe a kind word to a stranger.
Or finally forgiving someone who hurt us?
Or just offering a helping hand.
Can we look for the good in others?
Even when it's hard,
Because even small acts of love can have a huge impact.
they create a ripple effect.
And we become part of something bigger.
A movement of love and compassion.
That can change the world.
You really can.
So let's make pure love our guide.
In everything we do.
Let's be that light the world needs.
Don't underestimate the power of love.
It can change us and the world around us.
Thank you for joining us on the deep dive.
We hope this exploration of pure love has been inspiring.
Remember, the world needs your light.
Keep seeking, keep learning, and keep diving deep.